Before I jump in, I also want to mention that what we show in the previous webinars and in this one were really based off of particular clients' needs. And we show them today to show the capabilities of ArcGIS Online, but know that it's configurable. If one workflow I show is not something you do, or you want to maybe adjust what we show, that's all possible. There's just no possible way for us to show all of the options in one demo. So hopefully today you'll get a taste of these two workflows and maybe think of how you could use them yourself. For those of you unfamiliar with ArcGIS Online, I just briefly wanted to talk about that. It is part of Esri's Geospatial Cloud. So web GIS is another word that maybe you've heard. It's a really affordable way to get started with GIS. So because you're leveraging Esri's cloud, all the data is stored there. There's very little hardware requirements. So you need a PC with a browser as far as hardware goes. Now, once you begin to use it, you'll probably want to extend that into the field. And for that, you might need tablets. From there, you might want to collect data with a GNSS enabled survey equipment, so you can get sub-inch accuracy for, again, very affordable cost. So there's what I'm going to show you today is great. Know that there's a few things that you might want to add on, but it's all very entry level. And because we're leveraging ArcGIS Online, there's not a lot of those equipment costs, servers, any of that might be difficult for if you wanted to go that route. So ArcGIS Online is cloud-based, it's secure, lots of people use it. And then enterprise ready just means that it should meet all of your IT requirements as well. So that's everything I'm going to show today is on ArcGIS Online. So what I'm going to do is jump to our portal. And so the previous webinars were on the permitting portal. Asset management was the last one we did. So today we're going to talk about construction projects and our road project cost estimator. The other two that we're not going to get to this year, but if you did want more information, you could certainly let us know. We could do a demo, emergency management and road closures. The idea behind, I'm just going to hop into the construction projects page. The idea behind this is that we want to be able to see and track our construction projects that are planned or in progress. That's what this one is for. We're going to talk about the estimator, and those are, more pre-project planning. This is, you know you're going to do these projects and they're either happening now or they're going to happen in the near future. They are scheduled. So I'm going to walk through just briefly what these 4 tabs mean at the top, so we get a picture for what the whole format is doing, and then I'll dive into them individually as we create some of these projects. So the project editor is just that. So you can edit and add the projects that you want to track. This is where, again, you can do this. We're doing this through a browser instead of needing desktop software to do this. And that's because we're leveraging a web app builder in this case. You might hear Experience Builder. We're also using Experience Builder here with an editor widget on the side. So that means with a browser and a login, anyone with the right permissions can edit this data. The next piece we have is a project dashboard. And so what this is going to show, dashboards are great for allowing people to really interact with the data, but not edit it. There's no editing capabilities, but you can see a little bit more here than we did in the editor page. We've got some indicators on the right-hand side. We've got a table along the bottom, and then some filters on the left-hand side. And once we add some data, I'll get back to those. The last two are really what the public is seeing. So it allows us in this manager application, as I maybe create a new project, I can quickly check to see what the public is seeing in their map. So there's a current project map, and this is just filtering those projects that are actually active. And then the last tab we have here is the 5-year plan, and that is showing future projects. So based on dates that we'll show here in a minute, you can symbolize and really allow people to see what your plan is for the future. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to project editor and we're gonna create some of these projects. So we've on the right hand side, we've got two options. We've got bridge or culvert projects, which are points, and then road projects, which are polylines. So if you're used to CAD, I used CAD previously, and a layer could have points, lines, polygons, all in the same layer. One of the ways GIS is different is that each layer has a single type. So that's why we've got two. We've got one point layer for these bridge and culvert projects, and then the separate one for the roadway project. So I'm going to create a new bridge and culvert project. I want to show too over here on the left hand side some of the buttons that we have available. One is the layer list. So this bridge culvert projects, that's the one we're going to add to, as well as the road projects. But I also have a bridges layer. So as I zoom in, I can see those. So we have either collected that data or gotten it from the state and added it to the map. So we've got that data there. And then we also have a culverts layer, which we're not going to use today, but would interact with the map the same way that the bridges did. So I kind of wanted to show those there. Some of the data that we have in the background that's helping to run this application. So I am going to create a new project. I come over here and it tells me if I press control, I can snap. So what that's going to do is allow me to snap to that exact bridge location. So I'm going to go ahead and click. And that has created a new feature. And over here on the right hand side is where I'm going to edit that feature. So this is where the data that you want to see and collect is what would be shown here. This is, again, built on what a particular client wanted. So I'm just going to enter a number for project ID. This could also be created automatically for you. Project name, I'm just going to say bridge reconstruction. Notice it pulled the road name from the road. So this is obviously looking at a different road field than this 1150 North, but it is pulling that information from the bridge itself. And I can add a description. I'm just going to say the same thing here. And again, notice the types of fields are different. So these are all just text fields that are optional. And those are great for exactly what we're showing here. But then when we get down to improvement type, I've got a drop down because we want to make sure these are always spelled the same, right? That somebody doesn't put, I don't know, culvert bridge repair instead of bridge or culvert repair. We want to have a list. So in ArcGIS Online, these are called lists. If you're using the desktop software, it's called a domain, but that will help control your data entry, which is great when you've got multiple people entering data. I know myself, though, I wouldn't also always enter it in the same time. So anytime you can create those lists, that is a great thing to have. I'm going to pick bridge replacements, even though I said reconstruction up there. And then the next field is red. So this red asterisk means it's required. It's not going to let me save this piece of information, this point, until I enter this information. And that's because this is an important field that's being used elsewhere. So another way to make sure your data is being entered the way you want it to be entered. I'm going to say we're in the bidding process for this, and that it opened a couple weeks ago. I'm going to say that I think it's going to start tomorrow, and then it'll be done. We'll give it a year here. And this is really just for us to kind of keep all that information, keep track of that. I don't have a start date yet, so I'm not going to enter that, or completion date. If I wanted to put in a cost, I could do that here. Say I estimated it here. Once it's done bidding, then I can keep track of what the actual bid cost was, as well as the final cost. But let's say at this point, I don't know what those are. So I'm going to hit save. And now we have a new potential scheduled project. I'm going to do the same thing for roads, just so we can see how that's a little bit different. I am going to control and click, and let's just say we're going to do the same stretch while it's closed. Double click to complete the road. And so now this is a similar set of information we're collecting on roads, but you'll see there's a couple extra fields. Again, project ID, let's say it's 124. And then it grabbed the road name for me, but if I wanted to use a different road name, I could overwrite that. It's still editable. Can add a description. And then improvement type, I'm gonna choose, let's say seal coat. And then again, the status is required because that is important. I'm gonna say this is in the same stage, and we'll say, right, I'll try to remember the same dates. 24. Okay. Again, don't know the start date or completion date. We'll say this one's 50. And then here's a couple extra fields that it's pulling because it's a roadway and I have surface width. That number is pulling from the road. If I knew that I'm going to widen it, or if I knew 16 wasn't right, then I could edit that here as well. We'll talk about estimates later. I'm going to hit save. So now I have 2 new projects over here on the east side of the county. Next, I'm going to go into dashboards so we can kind of interact with that. So here are the 2 new projects that we added. And then what's powerful about this dashboard, so I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing the proposed and the future projects. But the filters on the left are pre-made, again, could be made based on your needs. But I'm going to look at improvement type. So if I just wanted to see the bridge repair projects, I can filter quickly by those, and you'll see the indicators on the right-hand side change, as well as the table at the bottom. So I'm looking at a road projects table. If I click over to the bridge projects table, then I'm going to see those as well, and I can see more information. If I select them in the table, it'll zoom, and then I can, again, see more information than what's available in the table. There's a button to edit it if you wanted to. It's just going to take you back to the project editor, but it kind of, if you know which one you're at, then you can quickly get back to the editor tab. Okay, I'm going to show all of these, and then same with project status. If I just want to see the ones that are currently being bid, I can filter those, or maybe more importantly, I can see the ones that are in construction. So then quickly, I'm going to go over to the next one again, current projects. So this does not include the ones that we just made, and there's a couple reasons for that. I haven't said that it's in construction yet. So let's go back to those 2 projects. So I showed you how to create one and to edit one. Same thing, I'm just going to select it, and that table is going to reopen on the right-hand side. I'm going to change the status now to construction. Let's say we're going to start. I'm going to leave the estimated start date. I'm going to say that we started today. I'm going to leave everything else the same. Save that. We'll do the same thing with the bridge. We're going to say we are in construction. Okay, so now when I go to current projects, I'm going to see those 2 because I've triggered that they are in construction. And again, I can see that over in the project dashboard. I can filter by that. This is just a quick view of what the public is seeing. So I make sure that they're seeing exactly what I'd like them to see. So we'll hop over to the 5-year plan. And similarly, those are not here because they're in current construction. But let's go look at the fields that would make them show up on the 5-year plan. So let's say something happened and turns out we can't start today. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to say it's shovel ready. But our estimated start date, let's say now it has to be next year. And I'm going to take the actual start date out because we didn't actually start. I'll do that there. I'll do the same thing here. So status, we'll say shovel ready. That one could stay. And we're going to go 20. Let's say the bridge has to be a year later. So we're actually going to start that in 25 and 26. And then we'll take the start date out. I'm going to hit save. What that will do, if I Going back to the 5-year plan map, that is going to have them display on this map in a color based on the year. So this is years from today. So once the calendar flips, then it's going to adjust those plans. So it's a rolling 5-year plan. The things you're going to do in the next year are blue. Things in the year after that are purple. Again, those could be changed. But it's a nice way, as you build this up, you can kind of see which portions of the county or your city that you're working on in the next year, so that you can start to plan those projects together. So I am going to next talk about the other one, but if you guys have any questions, I forgot to say, please ask. Sahara will check those, and I can dive into any of these details that you'd like to see more of. But what we're gonna do is head over to I will look at the public side really quickly. Again, demo of what the public might see. In our previous webinars, we've shown how the public can apply for permits and see what permits are open and the status of those. Same with construction and maintenance. Again, this is just the map we were seeing before. They can see current projects as well as the 5-year plan. Let me see if I can pull those up here. Go back to the 5-year plan. So they can answer the question, hey, is my road going to be done in the next 5 years? It could be here. So, and again, the amount of data you share with them is all dependent on what you're comfortable with. There are a couple buttons in the bottom, so I can hit project details. I'm just going to pull up, hey, over the, this is what's on the map. You've got 7 road projects for an estimated cost of $850,000. Just a way to kind of summarize that information. All right, so I'm going to go home. This is back to the front page of the portal that we have made. We're going to talk about estimating these costs. So I wanted to make sure we understood how the other application worked, because you can do that piece without this piece. But if you have the estimator part, you would start a project by estimating it, and then you could make it appear on the next map. So you don't have to, they're not totally separate. They're on the same layer. There's just some triggers that make it go from an estimated project to an actual planned project. So this kind of comes before in the timeline, but I wanted to make sure we all understood the difference there. So this one's a little bit simpler. There's just 2 things. I've got the editor application, the project estimator on the left-hand side. And then similarly, a dashboard on the right-hand side here that will summarize this information by township. That's what was important to the client here. So I can see the totals of these estimated projects per township. So I'm going to go back to the estimator, and we're going to estimate some projects. So this is based on what the client was doing in Excel, which I think lots of us are using Excel for this. And it's really just pulling the information that we can from the GIS, so road width, road length, and then asking some questions about the type of project you're doing, which is the things you would do in Excel, and then it will result in a price that you can see billed as we get there, as we create these things. So I do want to show what you can see here is the material prices that are being used. So that's a table that we've got that can be edited as prices of materials go up or down, but I know that's not how that works. So we're pulling from a couple different places to make these calculations. So I'm going to start by just creating a new feature. The first thing I need to do is just give this a place to live. So I'm going to choose, let's pick this road here. Again, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to control and click along the road, double click to finish. And there is it's not always grabbing the right name. So again, you can update this. The client in this particular case wanted a drop-down list for the estimate ID. This again could be auto-generated or populated on your own if you want. that is an estimate. So that's what makes it appear here in this table and not in the other map. We're saying yes. We'll just throw in project, so you can add a project name, a road name. Again, that might be, nope, I grabbed from, it looks like this one. So I'm just going to update this road name. And then if I wanted a description, I could. Again, improvement. So I'm going to say, we're going to seal coat. Some fields are, so this one is not editable. We just need that status to stay unknown for now. So we can see it, but we can't edit it. That's an option you have. And then surface width. So it pulled 14 from one of these roads. Say I know I want to use 24 for my calculations. So I'm going to put 24 in there. And I'm going to save. And so what that does is it gives me a place to do my calculations. So I'm going to come over here and select this road. I have a pop-up that's going to show me the information that it's going to calculate with. And then just a button here that's going to help me create the estimate. So in this case, we're using Survey 123. So we're just jumping over to Survey 123 using some URL parameters. You can see at the top, it's pulling the road name to pre-populate some of this information. So that's a great way to get from a web map to Survey 123. We do that a lot. Also want to plug that Field Maps is getting more and more of these capabilities. So if you haven't looked into that, you should. Most of the workflow we do here is probably possible directly in Field Maps. So just know that's an option too. But it is pulled over. Here's one of those. It created that, it pulled the ID. I'm sorry, it pulled that one. It's pulling the date and not letting me change that. We got a road name, township. I'm going to say chip and seal with prime. So again, this is based on how the client was calculating below. So by answering this question, I get some more questions down at the bottom. This was the road length that pulled from the map. I'm going to round up because I want to make sure I'm rounding up and not down, make sure I capture all that. The road width came over. If I had not updated it there, I could update it here to make sure that calculation is happening. And if I scroll down here, as I enter number of treatments, my just like it would in Excel, those calculations are starting to happen as I edit this. So I'm just going to throw a 2 in there. You can see that is updating. And we've got a subtotal plus then an engineering cost based on a percentage of the project. So that's, if you are doing it in Excel, we can definitely make that happen in ArcGIS Online through either Field Maps or Survey 123. We got an option for adding an additional cost. Let's say I know that we're going to need traffic control. So I'm going to estimate $5,000 for a traffic control. I could add a different additional cost if I wanted. We definitely could add a field for you to explain what the costs are for. So when you go back and look at it a year later, you'll know what those were. And then I've got a total cost down at the bottom. So I'm going to hit submit. And then that cost is recorded. I'm going to go back here. And so now if I go to the estimator dashboard, that road is going to be here. So if I click Penn, then I've got 4 roadways within Penn Township for a total of $90,000. That really then will help you build your program and see what those totals are as you're doing it. And again, once you've decided to do this, let me go back to the project estimator. I could click the right button. So I could come here. Oh, here we go. Okay. I want to select this and open it over here, because what I can do then is say it's no longer an estimate. It's actually a project that I want to use. And then that's going to remove it from here. And if I head back to my construction projects and remember where that was, let's go to current projects. I think this was it, Keston Road. So That then allows me to plan on one side, kind of get all those calculations, those costs, and as we choose projects, quickly add them to the current projects board. And from there, I can update and track those as they go through.